morning, so I'm looking forward to warming up. Just wait one more minute. So today I wanted to do some rolling in preparation for a yoga pose that I would like everyone to work on. It's one of my favorites because it's probably the best counter pose for life. It works all the opposite muscles of what we use every day. So we're gonna go ahead and start just warming things up with a sun salutation, and then we're gonna work on our thoracic vertebrae, getting that ready. The pose we're gonna prepare for is bow, and we're gonna roll things out and get those muscles ready to move in that way. But first, we're gonna just start with a sun salutation. We'll just do 2 rounds on each side. Because we're gonna open up some muscles that aren't used to being opened up, and we wanna really prepare, especially the thoracic vertebrae, well, all of the spine really, but lower and thoracic, so that so it's ready to move in the way we're gonna ask it to. So go ahead and inhale and exhale. Really think about the curves under your feet, grounding through the corners of your feet, and exhale. Right foot back, inhale. Feet together, hold. And then flatten, drop your knees, flatten your feet, and exhale. Up into cobra, keeping your shoulders down, your elbows in, relax your glutes. Then tuck your feet, your toes under. Push up into downward dog. Really focus on stretching your spine out here. We're not so concerned about our hamstrings. Right now, we really want to just lengthen out your spine from your tailbone to the crown of your head. And bring that right foot forward. And into forward bend. Inhale. And come up. And your spine should start to be warming up. Okay, this time, I want you to kind of think parallel the outside edges of your feet. Pay attention to all the curves. You've got a curve underneath your arch, a curve behind the back of your knees. Engage your abdominal muscles so you can feel all of the curves up your spine. Inhale and exhale. Inhale up. Really focus on each of the vertebrae as you go back. And then exhale down. This time, left foot back. I like to give a little bit of a scissor to turn on. Both knees are, well, back knee is unlocked. A little bit of a scissor to turn on the hamstrings, a little bit of adductors, and the quads of the back. Bring both feet together. Drop your knees, exhale, flatten your feet, and think of flexing one vertebrae at a time. You come up into cobra.
Again here, drop your shoulders, pull your elbows in, and relax your glutes. Tuck your toes.
Back and down the dog one more time. And bring that left foot forward. Get a little bit of a scissor. And bring both feet together. Forward bend. And then really anchor through your feet as you slowly engage your hamstrings and come up. Okay, this time we'll go one more time through each side, a little bit faster. We're a little bit warmer, and definitely feel that I'm warmer. Okay, inhale. And exhale. Pull your shoulders down, relax your jaw. Inhale up. Expand your rib cage. Exhale down. Right foot back. Feet together into plank. Drop your knees, flatten your feet, and slowly slide into cobra. Up your toes, press back into downward dog. And then bring that right foot up. Little bit of a scissor. And then feet together. And inhale. Up, really active feet. Okay, one more. That side. Inhale. And exhale. Really pull your abdominal muscles in and squeeze every bit of breath out. Inhale. Pay attention to the curves in your spine. And exhale. Left foot back. Little bit of an engagement of those quads and inner thighs as you scissor into plank. Drop your knees, flatten your toes, and so slowly come into cobra. You should feel like you're getting a little bit more movement through your spine than when you started. Tuck your toes, press your hands back, really push through your tailbone. And then bring your left foot forward. A little bit of a scissor. Put together. Into forward bend. Going to relax your upper body. Really active legs. And then ground through your feet. And okay, so we've got our spine warmed up. But bow is a very active pose. I'm going to flip my mat a little bit. It's a very active pose with everything on the back. And we tend to have an imbalance front to back, just because everything we do tends to be in front of us. So we're going to open up our shoulders and prepare them to be able to open up, which we will need for bow. We're going to open our hip flexors, roll out our quads, and prepare ourselves to be able to get into that pose. So let's start with our shoulders. You can decide what size of ball. I like this bigger one. I'm gonna, now that I'm warm, you'll be able to see that a little bit better. So I'm going to start on my right side, and I'm going to place the balls between my shoulder and my rib cage, but I'm slightly under my clavicle, but not just barely. So I'm going to come down on the ball, and to me this feels amazing. It feels really good, and I'm just going to spend a minute here, kind of just moving around an inch back and forth,
And allow that muscle to just sink in and open up. And then I'm going to grab the floor with both hands, and I'm just gonna pull back and forth a little bit so I get a little bit more movement. My hands are really active into the floor. And this is a little deeper, deeper stretch. The balls are a little deeper into my pecs, into where my neck muscles attached to my clavicle, and I'm just slowly pressing. Now I'm going to flip my hand over, back and forth. Get a little bit more glide in between the layers of muscles. And then I'm going to bring my hand down, slide it along the floor, up over my head. And the great thing about this is you have all the control of how much of a stretch you want. We're just preparing our shoulders to open up, to lengthen out, so that we're going to be able to grab our ankles. Okay, now I'm going to come to the other side. I'm going to place the ball under my clavicle, between my shoulder and my rib cage. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to spend a second. This side isn't as tight for me as my right one was. See how you feel a difference there? I'm just gonna roll a little bit back and forth, really active hands into the floor as I roll out that pec muscle. And then when I'm ready, I'm gonna flip my hand back up and down. Does it make me breathe as deeply as the other side did? Okay, and then I'm gonna slide my hands over my head and then back down to my side. That's a good, so to lengthen out, really helps to counter what inevitably becomes that head forward posture as we can see people that start to develop kind of that hump on the back of their neck. This definitely helps prevent that. Okay, I'm going to grab my gorgeous ball, the larger inflatable one. I'm going to put it under my rib cage. And I'm just going to spend a second stretching out the muscles. So I'm just barely like kind of clavicle and under. I'm just going to stretch those out a little bit. It actually feels really good. A little bit noisy. Feels really great on the rib cage. Once you start to do this, your body kind of craves it. Definitely helps to open up space for your lungs, which, hey. Now, while we're gonna come back to that ball really quickly, but let's open up our hip flexors and our quads, because when we're done with this, we are going to need to be able to, you're gonna feel a stretch in your quads here, and you're gonna be able to complete the pose better when your hip flexors and your quads are a little bit longer. So I'm gonna start with the balls I'm gonna start in my hip flexors, just below the hip bone. And spent a little time on my bike this morning, so mine are a little bit tight. So it feels really good to, um, to loosen them up a little bit. You're going to find that the more you do this, the more your body, like, it just feels good. It's kind of like the difference between the first massage and the 10th one. Your body just knows how it wants to be. Okay. So while I'm not square to the floor, I'm a little bit at an angle. I'm going to bend and straighten my knee. Just a little bit of lengthen. I'm just lengthening out my quad. Last week, we did some quad rolling, which definitely should help this, what we're doing now. So now I'm going to come down into my quad. The nice thing is your body remembers, and it adjusts more quickly the more you do it. So I've got one knee bent, and I'm just rolling from my knee to the top of my the work we did last week. This should definitely feel better than if we hadn't done it. So that's good. Okay, then I'm gonna find a sticky spot, which for me is about midway, and I'm going to bend and straighten. And I'm just supporting myself on my elbows. That feels pretty good to me. So we're gonna go to the other side. We're gonna come, again, the same place, right under the hip bone. And to me, that spot feels so good. I love to spend time. You can even roll right over the top of the hip bone and get all of those attachments. We tend to, those muscles get really tight, especially in the front. Rolling them out. At first, it can feel a little bit like a burning sensation, but that should go away as you continue. And as you roll that out, it just allows your posture, allows your pelvis to be in a more neutral position. It's just such an advantage to having those just a little bit longer. Okay, so you're ready there. You're going to bend and straighten that leg. You'll feel a little bit of a pull, a little bit more of a stretch. And then when you're ready, we're going to come a little bit, we're going to face the floor a little bit more and just roll out the quad. Support yourself with your elbows. And show your way up and go clear down to the knee. And you'll feel where your sticky spots are. And you can spend a little more time on those spots. The wonderful thing about this is you really get to know your body better, and you'll know what you need. Just a really great self-care tool. Okay, then find, so for me, where all the muscles overlap the most, which is about midway. That's my stickiest spot. So I'll come there and I'll bend and straighten. That stretch feels so good. The more you do it, the better it feels. Okay, so we have prepared the front of the body to lengthen out and to release so that we can get into bow. But we're gonna spend a minute getting the spine ready to move that way. We're gonna start just by going into fish pose. And that's if you take your palms down on the mat, and you're going to bring your sit bones right on top of, I like to go on my wrist, just a little bit below the wrist. So it's, your sit bones are putting pressure on all of those attachments just below the wrist. It's both super therapeutic for your hands and arms, as well as the spine. So you're gonna lengthen out your legs. You're going to bring your elbows underneath you. And you're going to bring your head back and place it on the mat. And you can spend a little bit of time adjusting here. This should feel good on your wrists, and this should also feel good on your thoracic and cervical spine. If it doesn't, then we need to find out what is what is tight and release that. So in this pose, your legs and feet are active. They're not just, so they're really pointing and kind of moving away from you. You're stretching your spine from both ends. So your feet are moving away and your elbows are pressing up. So you're getting a stretch in your lumbar spine, and you're also opening up your chest, and you're getting some good flexion in your thoracic and extension in your cervical spine. Really pressing through the elbows. Okay, and we're gonna come down out of that. Now we're gonna grab your gorgeous ball, and we're gonna place it. This is a little bit, it's also a great way to prepare for shoulder stand. So you're gonna just place it under your thoracic spine. And again, your legs are fairly active, pointing away from you. And you're just going to relax into the gorgeous ball, just under your cervical spine. I don't know if you can see how I have that placed. So we're just gonna spend a minute here breathing. And as you breathe, I want you to just really, so we're not trying to, so while we're doing this, I actually want you to engage your abdominal muscles, like you're protecting your spine from the front. That's the only protection the front of your spine has, is those abdominal muscles. So your abdominal muscles are engaged. Not crazy, but just engaged. And you are really focusing your breath into your rib cage, not your abdomen. So engaging our stomach muscles. And as we breathe in, we're trying to get air into all the sides, not just sides, but front and back. So breathe into the ball. Breathe your sternum out away from the ball. And then your rib cage. So think 360 big as you just take 2 or 3 more deep inhales. And then use your abdominal muscles to really exhale all of the air out. As you do that, you're going to get a little bit more opening in those in that thoracic spine and all of those vertebrae. Okay, go ahead and take that out. And now I want you to we're just gonna spend a minute. And I want you to engage your abdominal muscles and almost like you're going to try and posteriorly tilt your pelvis. So you're not smashing, you can still get your hands under your low back, but you can't get a fist there. Does that make sense? So you engage these stomach muscles. So like you're gonna protect your low back from the front. Okay, so I want you to pay attention to what vertebrae are touching the floor. And I want you to spend a minute making the back of your neck long. You're not going to be able to, nor should you, get the back, your cervical spine to the floor, but you are doing a little bit of a chin tuck and making the back of your neck long. Just 2 breaths here. Pull your shoulders down away from your ears. Okay, now we have our spine warmed up. So this is one of my favorite poses because it strengthens the rhomboids and pull, like you're working muscles that just, you don't work really very often. So it's such a great balancing counterpose for life. And as you practice it, you get stronger, but it is a work in progress. So you're going to come back and grab your ankles. If you cannot grab your ankles, you can use a yoga strap. And the way that you do that is you'll just hook the strap around your ankle and you'll pull it and the strap can be as long as you want. Now in this pose, our knees are hip width apart. We do not want to allow them to come way out. So our knees are in line with our hips. So if you cannot grab your ankles while they're in line with your hips, then use a yoga strap. You'll have the same benefit, but you need 2 of them because you have 2 feet. So that would look like this. So, but if you can grab your ankles with your hands, then we're going to come down just a minute and rest. And then we're going to pull up. And while you're in this pose, the rocking that we want is initiated by the breath. So go ahead and come down and rest for a minute. Stretch your quads out. But it's a super active pose, engaging all of these back muscles that just don't get work. Now, there are a few places that you may cramp. You may cramp in your hamstrings because you're asking them to eccentrically, you're loading them eccentrically, and they're not used to that. So, as with all muscle cramps, well, not all, with most muscle cramps, you want to educate your brain and your body that that's a safe movement, which means you just have to do it more often. Okay, one more time. We're going to inhale, come up, that's stringing the bow. And then as you breathe, and you're really pressing your feet away from you, opening up your chest, really engaging your rhomboids, and getting a stretch into those vertebrae. Okay, so if, while you're doing that pose, pay attention to
where you felt tension. Is it across the chest? Is it in your hamstrings? Like where are you feeling your quads? And then you can spend more time rolling those areas out and preparing them for the pose. This is a great pose to do every day. It's so good for your posture to open up your chest, strengthen all of those back muscles. While you're in the pose, you are still engaging your abdominal muscles because you're supporting your spine from the front. So let's go into the pose one more time. And then we're just gonna do a little bit of hip stretches. While you're doing that, I want you to pay attention to what your abdominal muscles are doing. There's so much to pay attention to with this pose. Go ahead and inhale. And pay attention. Are you engaging your abdominal muscles? It's just a tiny bit. But as you work on it, you'll be able to pay attention to all the details a little bit better. So the great thing about engaging your eccentrically loading, so your abdominal muscles are long and stretched out, and you're trying to engage them. So just a really great thing to do. Now your hamstrings are used to not being, that's a concentric engagement. They're not used to being so short while they're contracting. And you may get a cramp there, but just work through it. Just do it every day and you will get more used to that. Okay, we're gonna just do two things. We're gonna stretch our hips out and our neck. So while you're in bow, you wanna also be careful not to bring your head too far back. It needs to be in a fairly neutral position. It's not like you're in cobra where you're trying to get that stretch in your cervical spine. You want mostly you're looking for lumbar and thoracic movement. Well, you have a more neutral cervical spine. But let's go ahead and stretch, just run our neck through range of motion. So bring your chin to your chest, pull your shoulders down, really pay attention, engage your abdominal muscles so that you're not coming really into, you're not over accentuating this low back curve. So pull your stomach in, bring your chin to your chest, bring your shoulders down, bring your chin to your right shoulder. Take a deep breath here. Now bring your ear to that shoulder. Pay attention. How do these scalenes feel? A really great thing to do. Let's just take a second. If you have one of your smaller sizes of balls, one thing I really love to do is while I'm running my neck through range of motion, so while I have my ear to my right shoulder, I'm going to take this ball and I'm just going to kind of glide it super slow around my clavicle, both above and below. And make sure all of those muscles aren't too tight and short. So as I inhale and move my rib cage, I'm pulling on those muscles. And then this ball, I'm just massaging, lengthening out, making sure they're releasing while those are in a long position. Okay, then I'm gonna allow my head to drop back. I'm still engaging my abdominal muscles. I'm not over curving my low back. I'm gonna bring my left ear to my left shoulder. And while it's there, I'm going to loosen up those scalenes, SCM, on my right side. It feels really good. And then I can come below my clavicle also. And just stretch those out. Those to release. And then I'm going to bring my chin to my left shoulder. Take a deep breath here. And then I'm going to allow my
I'm gonna follow my clavicle around with my chin, keeping my shoulders down. And I'm gonna go to the other side. I'm gonna go the other direction. And I'm gonna look, bring my chin to my left shoulder. Again, you can use the ball if you want to roll this. If that still feels tight, if there's a lot of resistance there, continue to knead those muscles out. Mine feel a lot looser, so I feel okay. I'm gonna bring my ear to my shoulder, allow my head to roll back, around, so that my ear is to my right shoulder and my right ear is to my right shoulder. It's still a little tighter, so you can use that grippy ball to lengthen out those muscles, really from your ear all the way down to your clavicle. And then bring your chin to your shoulder. And that should feel more centered and balanced. Okay, let's do the same with our hips. So let's come into a 90-90 position. And we're gonna try in this position to sit up as straight as we can. We're just gonna work with how our hips are today. Some days they're just tighter than others. Where the goal is to work this front knee to the floor, but also to sit up as straight as we can. So now we're going to pick our the back foot up. Just pick that back foot up. If you feel a cramp in that glute, it's the same kind of thing. It's not used to it. So you're just gonna do it more. And soon, that muscle will be like, oh yeah, I know what this is, I can do it. But it's confused at first. Okay, then you're gonna pick that whole leg up. If you wanna kind of balance that out with a hand on the other, you can. This is such a great way to strengthen that hip. Deep breath. Okay, now we're gonna pick up our front leg. You don't have to pick it up very far, just a little bit. It's a very shaky position, but it's such a great way to make those, just to balance those hips out and make sure that they are supported. You're far less apt to injure them. Okay, now we're gonna switch sides. There's always one side that's easier than the other. We do not use our hips in a balanced way. Okay, so we're in a 90-90 position. You are trying to sit up as much as possible. We're engaging your abdominal muscles. We're not really arching our low back too much. Okay, we're going to pick up the heel on the back leg. This is probably the most common way to make your glutes cramp. So you're just going to pick that up. Take a couple deep breaths. If you want, you can pulse it. You can pull it up. Take it back down, put it back down. Just do that a couple of times. Again, we're engaging our abdominal muscles, supporting our low back from the front as we do this. This will make so that we are using the correct muscles to pick that foot up. Okay, now we're going to pick up that whole back leg. Just hold it there. Start to shake. That's actually a really good thing. That's great neurological education. That's doing great work between your brain and that muscle. Okay, then we're going to pick up the front. Hold that here. Mine will definitely start to shake here. This is my weaker one. But it's really important to be able to control these muscles. Okay. Now just kind of windshield wiper your knees back and forth. Loosen them up, shake that out. Hey, thank you for joining me. I hope that you feel like your posture is a little bit better.